this is important, and I'm really pleased that everybody heeded the call to show up. It's an important meeting, and you guys make a difference, and your voice counts. I always say that. So to just get started, we're going to approve our December minutes that we had for the December Town Hall. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to make to the December minutes? The only thing that I want to make comment is that, and I know Rob, you took those minutes because we didn't have our recording secretary then, but just in the future, if we can not abbreviate names so that we have everybody spelled out, that would certainly help. And I just want to make sure that that's all clear. It's hard sometimes for somebody to read the minutes and they don't know who GW is. You know, it's just nice to have George Wilson. So, okay, Marilyn Anderson has made a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Any further discussion? No? Okay. All in favor of passing the December minutes, raise your hand. So, opposed? Abstention. Okay. So, meeting minutes pass. What is it? 5 to 1. We're a 7-member board, so we have one vacant seat. So the December meeting minutes passed. This is a good time, Steve. I'd like to talk about abstention votes. I just want to know, as far as I'm concerned, abstention votes are reserved for potential conflict of interest issues or actual conflict of interest issues. Is that not true? Or can board members abstain on any issues that they choose? Or how does that work? How do abstention vote? Sure, absolutely.
Good evening, folks. My name is Steve McMahon. I am the County Council, and I was invited up here tonight to advise the board on some procedural matters and some substantive matters. The question from the chair is, what can you tell us about abstention votes? The abstention vote is a curious beast, but it is allowed. It certainly is a conflict of interest. If you have an actual or a potential conflict, you would, if you have an actual conflict, you don't even vote. You don't even participate in the discussion. If you have a potential conflict, you can participate in the discussion and you can vote, provided you disclose the potential conflict of interest. In the situation we had here today, the commissioner or board member abstained on the approval of the minutes, and the basis for his abstention wasn't disclosed because he doesn't need to disclose it. Let's say he wasn't here last week or last month. Let's say he didn't read the minutes. His abstention is appropriate and certainly is preferred to a voting nay on that. So this carried 5-0-1 is how that would be recorded right there in terms of 5 yes, 0 nay, and 1 abstention. If 4 people abstain on a particular matter, can they vote? The rule is yes. It's called the rule of necessity. If you can't do any board action because everybody abstains, let's say a potential or actual conflict, the law does allow folks to still vote provided they disclose it, and it's based on the so-called rule of necessity.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Steve.
Good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I apologize, before we go any further, I do want to recognize a few distinguished guests that we have here. I think we've got Commissioner Jim Bernard is here, right here. We also have Commissioner John Ludlow. John, there he is, back in the back. And is Martha Schrader is not here, will be, but we do have Paul Savis, Commissioner Paul Savis, in the back. Okay, we've got 3 out of 5, so that's good. We also have Clackamas County PGA staff. We have Gary Schmidt, who's the director of Clackamas County Public and Government Affairs, and Amy Kyle's back here somewhere too, I believe, who's also with Clackamas County PGA. So we've got a fairly good representation of Clackamas County Board of County Commissioners here, and even more importantly, I wanted to introduce the residents of Mount Hood to the commissioners and let them know that this is, I think, a fair representation of our villages, and know that this community is interested in the village's board and what we do and how important we are. We are a direct arm of the county. We work as a liaison between the Board of County Commissioners and the residents of villages of Mount Hood. So we are your sounding board for the village, or excuse me, for the Clackamas County Board of County Commissioners. It's easy to get my tongue tangled here with all of this. But anyway, I want to thank the commissioners for showing up, and also the senior legal counsel for Clackamas County, Stephen Madcourt. So I just want to say thank you for showing up and being here. So, with regards to our meeting minutes for last month, our January board meeting, we did not have a quorum at that meeting, and therefore we are not obligated to or required to post those minutes because we in fact did not have a quorum. We didn't have a meeting. Otherwise, I would have had to address a lot of things that would have taken up a lot of time. And at this point in time, I think that we can work this more in a general sense as opposed to dealing with things item for item and naming names and that sort of thing. I think we can get a little bit further with this meeting. So, unless, is there any objections from anybody in the audience about our January meeting and our meeting minutes? None? Okay.
Suggestion, maybe we just strike it from the agenda. I mean, it needs a record that we were approving. I don't know if that's what anyone, a suggestion.
Strike it.
Well,
Strike it
it's on
from
the,
this.
yeah, it's on the agenda, the January, January.
December approved?
Yeah. So we will do that then. We'll make sure that we strike the January meetings from. Okay. Treasurer's report. Let's do that.
Okay, this is dated February 1, 2016. Current balance of the checking account is $1,329. One check was written to the Reserve of the Mountain for $193.60. I think that was for December meeting. Also written was a check for number 1621 written to the Reserve of the Mountain for $378.30, which was a county meeting that took place October 24th of 2015. My question as treasurer is, why was that check written? And why was it requested to be paid?
Well, I think we talked about this at a previous board meeting, and we were approached by Clackamas County to facilitate that town hall, what they alluded to as a town hall. And they let us know that they would reimburse us for that.
That reimbursement is not exactly correct, because that reimbursement money comes out of our trust funds, which means we're private. I was told this by one of the staff at Clackamas County office. $378 we would not get back until the checking account dropped down to a balance of $500. And then $378 would come out of the trust account, which means that we would be spending taxpayer money that we could use for other purposes. That's my point of order as treasurer.
Well, that's not my understanding. And perhaps you can
this and
let us know exactly what the proper procedure for our expense account and to run board business. Let us know. I'm still not quite sure where Joe's going with this, but I'd like.
I'm not going anywhere, I'm just asking a question.
So, yes, hello, I'm Gary Schmidt from the county. If that indeed was a county event, we should have paid it, and I'm not familiar with the details, so I'll talk with you after, but we'll reimburse you if that is the case.
Okay.
But in general, the county, the hamlets and villages have a checking account, which is funds provided by the county for your operational expenses. You also have the option of having a trust account, which is money you raise on your own through fundraising, and you spend it any way you wish.
Right.
So either way, I'll talk with you after, and we'll clear this up. If it was a county event, the county will pay for it, and we'll reimburse you our checking account.
Well, that was my original impression, but then I was, I got into a difficult situation. Why am I paying this check on taxpayer money if the county's going to reimburse us? So if that's the answer, that's great. Then I'll submit my treasury report. I hope that's accepted. That's right.
Okay, so we're okay?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for that.
Okay, next on the agenda, it's old business, and first I want to.
I have a point of order before we get into old business. And I have something for the board members. Respectfully request the floor for a few moments.
That's your block, isn't it?
Don't worry, I'm not going to merely hand out.
By the way, Martha Schrader, welcome to the meeting. Do I recognize her?
Just want to take a minute to recognize Commissioner Martha Schrader, who just showed up. So we've got 4 of the 5 commissioners here today.
Don't worry, I'm not going to read it all. It's a matter of reference. I want to start out saying it's important to understand that this board is a government board. It's not a homeowner's board. It's not a CPO or any other type of private board. We absolutely must strictly adhere to certain rules or be subject to fines, penalties, or even potential jail time. These are consequences I take very seriously. It is also imperative to point out that any board member who continues operating under the past pretenses are subject to severe penalties. Furthermore, by not stopping the current behavior of our chairperson, you may very well no longer be under the protection of the county for legal defense costs being covered. This occurs if you know of violations and willingly do nothing to stop them. After this moment, it is your choice. As outlined below, these are the violations of the state ethics, villages bylaws, and various ordinances and rules outlined in the Villages and Hamlet Handbook that I, Robert Bruce, and Joseph Mazzara believe in our careful opinion George Wilson has committed. Depending on the outcome of this meeting, we may refer to legal counsel for further clarification. This board has effectively accomplished nothing in the past year. Park committee stopped, neighborhood watch stopped, board members have resigned off this board at an unprecedented rate. The community as a whole has not received the representation it deserves. This is not leadership, it's dictatorship, and I will not stand for it. At the end of this document are a small sampling of emails showing what is George Wilson's standard response to any question regarding board business. He replies in threats, complaints and challenges to his authority, and conduct unbecoming of a member of this board. Any board member not only has a right, but has a responsibility to question something they feel is not in the best interest of the board and the people they represent. They should not have to worry about being accused and attacked by the board chair. I'll go into just a few of them.
Unsubstantiated accusations by George Wilson regarding election complaints. George has stated in following emails that Director Bruce and Director Mazzara started the election complaints. Following documents as evidence, email dated January 31st, George Wilson apologized for accusing Steve Graber of complaining about the election. For one, filing a complaint is every citizen's duty if they suspect wrongdoing. George Wilson states he is apologizing for his accusation against Steve Graber and claiming the apology came directly from the village's board. Again, this was never discussed as a board, nor was George Wilson given the authority to speak on behalf of the board regarding this issue. Our bylaws state that no member shall represent the board without prior board approval. See the email marked urgent. George Wilson, in his email to residents, George again states it's Bruce and Mazzara's fault for complaints. Prior to his email, George had already been notified by the county Mazzara and Bruce were not the complainants. This email was sent to, according to George, his extensive email list. January meeting minutes. He didn't approve, but they are written. Brian Mazzara asked George Wilson if he had any evidence it was Bruce and Mazzara. George did not reply, according to meeting minutes. Letter from George Wilson to Gary Schmidt dated December 9th. He again also states it was Bruce and Mazzara who filed the complaints. Bruce and Mazzara had never filed a complaint, nor is there any evidence showing they did. See meeting minutes dated 12/1, last paragraph. George states he will fix the election. See ORS 162-415, official misconduct in the first degree. See letter dated January 4th, 2016 from Fran Mazzara. See draft unsent letter from Robert Bruce to BCC requesting removing George Wilson. See copy of Supreme Court ruling Sullivan versus New York Times stating legalities, making statements one knows to be false. See email dated October 12, 2015 regarding meeting at Rapitude Restaurant in Welch's. Bruce and Mazzara simply wanted to put it out that there could be a conflict of interest regarding Ben Bleisner in the park. This was never meant to be a slam against Ben Bleisner. At this meeting with George Wilson, George was acting in a threatening manner, yelling and screaming regarding the issue of potential conflict of interest regarding Ben and how we were trying to only undermine his authority. Ben Bleisner replied to the board. He served on the park committee. He had made statements. He was hoping to receive work at the community park project. This could be a conflict of interest, and we simply wanted to look into it further. Ben had a right to seek work from the park contract, but needed to declare a potential conflict of interest. We just wanted it handled properly. Restaurant management had to visit the table on numerous occasions to ask if everything was okay. Numerous patrons got up and left the area due to George Wilson's loud outbursts. It was at this meeting George Wilson threatened Robert Bruce. George said that if Robert Bruce ever wanted to run for office again and didn't do things George's way, he would personally bury him.
I actually know George, and we do conflicts all the time. I don't see that like that at all.
Thank you, Jeff. This is ridiculous.
How long do we have to listen to this?
Until I'm done, I have the floor. This is a business meeting.
If we want to hear this whole, we could read it ourselves, ma'am. We're being held hostage.
Hey, guys, hey, hold on, everybody. This, I want to have
And
a,
this is how George responds.
I want to have some calm here. I'd like you to finish up, Rob, and so that we can move forward. But
Pretty close to being done. Again, see email marked urgent from George Wilson, paragraph 7. George Wilson accused Mazzara and Bruce of a conflict of interest regarding Bruce's state senate bid in 2014 and claims and infers Bruce and Royal received free housing from Mazzara. Trust and paid checking accounts, misuse of funds. George Wilson agreed to pay over $1,800 for a town hall without board approval, as evidenced by the following. See meeting minutes dated October 6th. This is taxpayers' money, in our opinion, that was being wasted. George would request an event for 40 people at $17 per person. Ask yourself, $17 a person, reasonable amount for a town hall? Legislative action. Village board is not to take a side on any legislative action. See email dated November 14th from George Wilson regarding Representative Mark Johnson's legislation regarding skier liability. See meeting minutes dated January 5th, 2016, where he asked the board to support legislative action. Page 10, processes the village's Hamlet Handbook. A single board member may not act as a representative of the Hamlet Villages without the board's affirmative vote taken at a legally noticed meeting. George Wilson has repeatedly represented himself at meetings as representing the village's board when in fact there are no meeting minutes showing board approval to do so. George has arbitrarily disbanded the park committee. See email dated January 31st, 2016. George Wilson also accuses a dead man who, except for his widow, cannot defend himself. Bob Reeves was an ethical man. See email dated December 30th and November 16th.
I think that's enough.
Yeah, come on.
We've heard anybody who
You're
calls
like Johnny
anything
from
into
Lake.
question.
That's
Jeez.
enough.
Point of order. Enough interruption.
Come here to think.
Your problem. This is ridiculous.
And I'm-
You know it.
No, it's not.
Hold on, guys. Everybody, please, please, everybody, and I'll address all of this.
I have a question.
Hang on. At the end of the, let me just, everybody, please. At the end of this meeting,
I would like to say just one thing. Has this board looked into mediation?
We have.
Okay.
But I'm going to give everybody their opportunity to speak at the end of the meeting. Anybody can say what they want to within reason. But Rob, if we can finish up here really quickly because we have.
This email dated January 31st, and this email, jump back to where I left off here. You can see George rebukes anybody who calls anything into question. Joe Lazar is simply pointing out issues where polling numbers are not correct, nor is this an issue the board agreed to take on. In December, George Wilson put forth a poll at a town hall regarding marijuana use on the mountain. The poll was never approved by the village's board. Page 23, town hall voting, stating Gina Royal was not a board member and Ben Gleisner was to be on the ballot. Ben was legally voted in. Ben was never approved by the board. See Section 8 vacancies in village bylaws, an email dated Wednesday, August 15th, where Gina was voted in at a board meeting. She was voted in according to bylaws to fulfill the remainder of Marcia Slater's vacancy. She should not have been on the December ballot. Page 30, Section 10, regular meetings. Regular meetings, the board of directors may be held at the time and place to be determined by the board.
You have 20 seconds. Out of your 2 minutes.
The meeting tonight was not approved by the board. George moved the meeting time and location apparently under false pretenses. We confirmed with Woodland Fire Department that we were not asked to have a meeting elsewhere for parking or other issues. Special meetings approved to be at a time and a place to be decided by the board. Again, this is not a meeting that's been approved by the board. The rest of this is backup documents for everything I mentioned.
Okay.
Wow. Is that authorized by the board?
Yeah.
Okay. There's some serious charges that have been lodged against me. The first thing that I do want to address is that we do not have a functional board at this time. We have a vacancy, and it leaves us an even number of members on the board, and currently we're pretty much split. It's a 3-3 split.
How do you get on?
If anything has come out of this, it's that it has drawn more interest in the village's board and what goes on. This is extremely important, people. You need to understand who your candidates are and who your directors are. You need to vet them. You need to know what they stand for, who they stand, what they stand for, and why they're here. And I expect that we have a good turnout at our next elections so that everybody can do that. I'm included. I want people to ask me questions. But because of where we've been for the past several months in having a vacancy on the board and being split, I, as the chairman, do what I can and the best that I can in order to make sure that this board functions.
And so in doing that, with regard to changing the venue from the Hoodland Fire Department to the board, we were pretty much forced to do that because there is no place for all of us to park at the fire department. They've brought that forward to us and addressed that. It's been a major issue, and it had to be addressed. I've done everything. I've talked to Carol. I've talked to Marilyn. Obviously, as I said, we've got a 3-3 split here, and it was decided that the best thing to do would be to change the venue.
Point of order. Why don't you talk to the rest of the board?
Well, I would, Joe, if the rest of the board would show up.
Why don't you call me up? You did done before.
When we have a board,
Don't talk to me.
when we have a board,
I talk to you however I want.
okay, guys, I want to keep this calm. Keep it calm. If we had a board where our members showed up, it would be one thing. So I've been forced into a position to where I make decisions. And I make decisions based on what's best for this community. And I think the majority of the people here today understand and know who I am, what I stand for, and know that this community is put first. And I make sure that that's happen. All of you people, most of you people here have heard my spiel. I'm out there and I'm talking to every one of you. And I'm trying to convince residents of the villages of Mount Hood that this board is a viable board, that it means something, and that we're here to do the best that we can for the villages and for the residents that live here. So, I don't, none of this surprises me. I am happy to go through when we've got plenty of time and I can go through each and every one of these charges. I am more than happy to address them. But I just want to make sure that the residents here vet their directors and vet their candidates and know why they're here and what they stand for. So I'm happy to address any charges or allegations that come forward. But the one thing that we're not going to allow to continue is to have people get up and make allegations that are unsubstantiated and are not able to be proven. Otherwise, it's just hearsay, and this goes on and on and on. So if you get up and you want to make allegations and charges, you own them. You own them. And we don't, we're not going to operate under obfuscation. I'll be completely forthright, honest, and transparent. I always have been, and I think everybody knows that. So I do take offense at some of these, all of these charges and issues that are brought forward, but this is a perfect example of a dysfunctional board that we have right now. And I promise you, when we have a full board, we will do our housekeeping and we will function as a board.
Yeah. Point of order. Point of order.
Right.
Mr. Wilson, point of order.
So,
Mr. Wilson,
I just have a couple of quick questions for you.
point of order.
Actually, I'm going to comment.
You just made,
I'm going to say something. You know, I came here tonight because I'm sick and tired of bashing people coming in and thinking this is their mountain.
Thank you.
Starting to do something that this is, well, I could call it a lot worse. I just came up with that real quick, dude. So, no, don't even know. So, what I think is I came here tonight because I'm done watching people walk all over this mountain and walk all over our people. Okay? I'm a little man here. I lost a big lawsuit. That was one battle. I'm sitting between Jim Bernard and Stephen Madcower, supposedly my nemesis, and I'm sitting here having a meeting. Okay? with these guys, I can't stand one of them, you guess. And I'm kidding. Well, maybe not. But what I am saying is, this freaking meeting, and see, there's that.
Control your meeting.
This
For
meeting,
crying out loud,
hey,
you're
this
supposed to be in charge of your
meeting
meeting.
is about people
No,
talking, not over talking, not running, not
You
having secret
interrupted me.
meetings,
I had the
not having
floor.
secret meetings,
This is ridiculous.
not doing anything like that. So,
Run your meeting.
no, I'm just
I'm
saying.
not running your meeting.
Hey, I'm gonna be the 8
Mr. Wilson?
All right, guys. All right. Okay.
Point of order.
I want to bring this thing down to a calm.
Mr. Wilson?
And thank you. I appreciate that.
Point of order.
Listen, we cannot continue to have interruptions from the audience right now.
Mr. Wilson,
I
I'm
have
addressing
given-
a statement
I've
you
given
just
you time at
made.
the end of the meeting to be able to say whatever you want to say.
Mr. Wilson,
But
you
right
are
now,
calling-
This is a board meeting.
You
This
are
is a
calling-
board meeting.
Yelling.
What Mr.
Can you let him
What Mr. Bruce stated as allegations that were unsubstantiated.
These
Mr.
are
Bruce
common
gave
problems that
every
we
member
have.
of the board
By
the
having
copies
constant
of all
interruptions with audience
substantiation.
members, and we're
They
not
are
able to continue
available
our
for
business.
anybody who wants to look at them. And to answer the man who interrupted me, I've been on this mountain 30 years. We are not newcomers.
All security.
Okay.
Yeah, but I bet a lot of people in here
All
are.
right. So we're going to continue on now with the agenda. Yeah, I can. At our last board meeting, we had 3 members of the board that showed up. I received notice from you, and I received notice from Gina that you were not going to attend. I did not receive any notice from Joe Mazzara as to whether or not he was going to be there or not.
Your wife was there at the board, and your wife could have very well just let us know as well.
It's nice to know
I
that we're going to
did.
have members.
And I have the email that was sent to you.
Excuse me, you're yelling at me.
Yes, so that everybody can hear that he's lying.
Whether you were here, whether you had a legitimate reason for being here or not, the point was that nobody was here.
The point is that doesn't stop you from communicating with the rest of your board in any manner in a special.
I have been in constant communication with Clackamas County PGA staff.
I received all the copies.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, I'm just gonna take it home and read it tonight, I guarantee it.
Okay, so listen, I have to stay on point here. I have to, we've got an agenda here, and I have to stay on point. So please, can we just deal with this toward the end of the meeting so that we can have people from the audience say what they need to say. But in the meantime, while we conduct this board meeting, can we please just have people in the audience hold their thoughts until the end of the meeting?
While we watch the circus?
Yes.
I appreciate that. I'll control this.
Okay.
I'll control this.
Good enough.
Just please, let's just wait until the end of the meeting so that we can address everybody's concerns. Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I agree with Ms. Lanier. I really think if mediation is available to the county for this board, I think that's a good place to start. I think we're not going to produce or get anything accomplished for the benefit of this community if we can't organize and get together ourselves.
Correct.
So I think, that being said, I don't think we need to be hollering at each other. I don't think we need to be accusing anybody of anything. I know in some of these accusations in this thing, I have seen the same type of situation come from Joe. And I've sat in the meeting where he has stood up and said that he's representing the board with his own personal opinion, and that is not a fact.
Can't hear you.
And I have sat there more than once. So I think really at this point, we just
Speak
need to
up,
get
please.
mediation going. We need to get this functional so we can do some benefit to these people.
Absolutely.
That is exactly what we need to do.
Okay, so I want to I want to move forward with this agenda so that we have plenty of time for people to make comments. Okay.
We're having trouble hearing you.
So the next item on the agenda, we want to discuss the election recall, and this has been a very important issue for me. There have been